Tiny Glades is a game that's really captured my imagination. I started off thinking that the area they gave you was far too small to make what I wanted to make, but I soon realised the area is massive and the possibilities are endless. After making a crossroads that was very simple with a few houses, I wanted to make something far more advanced, and I had this idea of this little walled river medieval town with a bridge and just kind of trying to squash a lot into a small walled area. I needed to use a different approach, an approach that would stop me acting like a toddler with a bag of glitter and give me some form of structure to build this. So I thought, okay, let's break this process down into different sections and try and sort of get what I've got in my head out into this game. So I'd start off with some landscaping and just getting the glade ready for action. So that was removing all the trees, getting rid of all of this water that was in the middle there, and most importantly was getting that river in. So I wanted it to not be all the way across, I wanted it to kind of curve off, so I did that. And then most importantly we had like the mountain, and as part of my vision it was this bridge that I set up, and I had some problems with it. I had to raise it higher to get that kind of gap effect in it, but I was quite happy with the end results. It's basically what I was looking for, and just getting all that terrain set up around it. And then of course it was a case of getting that path up to where the walled town would be, and luckily with the path tool it creates its own steps. The next part would be the walls and the towers that would surround that village, and it would basically act as my kind of guidelines as to where I would build this town. I didn't want a perfect kind of sort of set up there, because I wanted it to be kind of organic, and the idea being that this old Rivertown has been left for a long time. Its heyday has maybe been and gone, and I wanted these two big square towers by the main gate, and I wanted to add basically almost like this double wall effect, but add almost like a little room or like an add-on, as you can see there, on top of the gatehouse. And then on each four corner I wanted to have these sort of round towers with maybe a bit of a fairy tale theme to them, and that would just give that, you know, a bit of height and something to look at from a distance as well. And that this really is just that foundation of this town, more for decoration these days than any sort of practical purpose, and they've been left as they are. So one defining feature of this town would be the old fort in this sort of corner here. I wanted it to be a fort that's no longer used, the sort of keep, and nowadays more used for the village town market, but you know, it's still going to have those kind of slits, things like that you'd have had back when they were more likely to encounter people attacking them. So I didn't want anything too crazy. It would, you know, be fairly simple, couple of towers, and well, just something very basic. Now, what self-respecting medieval village doesn't have a church? So that was the next on the list. I needed, after the fort, I wanted to get the next sort of big feature of this to be the church, and I wanted to make it fairly simple church design, because you know, space is at a premium in this in this very small walled town, and it would be in a relatively cross-shaped kind of design. Again, not the fanciest of churches, but we've got those church-like windows in there, and yeah, it basically set out what I wanted to do. But one thing, and I don't know why I did it, is how off-axis it is compared to the rest of the town. But again, I think maybe in my head at the time I thought it would give it more of an organic feel, but it just looks completely wonky and a bit weird. But there is the church in all its glory, and just adding that path from the fort. Now it was time to get some houses in there and fill that space. Now that I've got all those main features in, the fort and the church, and I just wanted to really have that impression of these houses being crammed in here, and basically, you know, people have just built around what used to be a, you know, more of a military kind of castle at one point, and now has turned into very much a peaceful yet chaotic little market town. And I tried to make each house ever so slightly different, and these two, I'm just showing a bit more detail of how they are built, and that one's got that little kind of side bit. Now this here started off as my, what I thought would maybe be my inn, but I did change my mind. So, but this is again slightly unique design from the rest. It's kind of got this bigger upper portion to it, but I thought it just fitted in there nicely, being that there wasn't a huge amount, you'd go up rather than out. So, you know, gives it that kind of more natural feel to it, like it was just built up over time. But this one here is what I wanted to be the inn in the end. I felt it was more, there's a bit more space, and again it had that sort of bigger upper portion. It's right next to the market as well, and I put this kind of balcony out there as well, which I thought gave it like a more inn-like feel, as I did an inn in my Crossroads video from before. And you know, it was starting to look more and more like a town after putting that in, and keeping each of those kind of individual buildings slightly different, I think helps quite a bit with that. And it was just a case of starting to put some little details in there just to make it look more like it should do. Next up, I wanted to do a section which I decided to call the terrace, and is terrace, and it's basically just this line of housing and the back there, and it really was a case of just filling out the rest of the space again with just more housing, more people, you know, getting everything filled out to give it that really kind of proper town feel, I suppose. And also putting, especially in these terraced houses with that room behind the wall, just putting these gardens in just to give it a really good feel. But yeah, you can see now it really is getting jam-packed in there, and yeah, I was getting very happy with the results, being that it's my first time really attempting a proper town in this game, or you know, something a bit more advanced than just basically a really poor basic sparse map. Now it was a case of just putting the little touches in, adding anything that was missing, adding the odd building just to fill out any space that was left open, and putting the paths in, and just making it feel like a lived in town. And it was just, this is the bit I actually enjoy the most, I think, is just adding the kind of finer details to it and giving it some practicality and linking everything together. And I put that little shed there as well, which again, just to add a bit of variety to it, the odd sort of old wall and garden fences and paths and all sorts of things really. But again, what I wanted to do was add some trees which have grown over time, not too many because it kind of maybe overshadow some of the detail in the town. But yeah, it was getting to a level where I was getting very happy with the innards of the town, and I particularly like that kind of old gate, or sort of old gatehouse thing there, that, well, not even a house but just a hole in the wall, I suppose, or a door in the wall. The next part would be, I wanted to have like a gatehouse just outside the walls, like a toll booth, or just something again from a bygone age where once upon a time you'd have to pay to get in or have yourselves checked before you entered the castle. And again, I wanted it to look a little bit rough and ready. Maybe some old hermit lives there now and just kind of loiters about the entrance there. And it really was just adding something to the outside to give it again, you know, if this castle is no longer needed, we're at a period of peace, then, you know, people would start building around the town because they'd want access to the market and things like that. I don't know, I almost feel like in my head I almost have to have a backstory to how I design these, because it gives it just a bit more, I don't know, just enjoy it more. I gotta say, this is completely besotted. I'm besotted with Tiny Glades. It's just the perfect game for me. As you can see, I've added a little grain house there, as you would potentially have in a place like this, and two little kind of very small houses there, just again filling up that space, and of course adding some tiny gardens for Tiny Glade. And I wanted to also fill in some trees again. And then this is what I call my little river folk, the poor people living by the river, fishing away, having a great time. And my word, did I spend some hours to get to this point in the map. And yeah, it literally was just adding lights, fences, gates, things like that. Now we're here, and the village and town is all finished, and let's have a little look and see what we've got. So we've got the river here, so we're back what I turned into like a wooded area here, and you've got just like a little fishing pier platform there, and you've kind of got your little road and your bridge, and again with those trees it just makes it look a bit more organic. And then we've got our little outsiders, I call them, here, and our grain and our gatehouse, and that's looking pretty nice there. The good look up at the Rivertown, and we've got our little river folk. And as we get through, we've got the little house on the gatehouse there, and our towers. And then we come into the town itself. We've got our fort and our market here. And there's a look at the town and the church and everything in all of its glory. And it's looking pretty nice, I think. And I'm pretty happy with my progression in the game and how it's gone. But you can see I've not even made full use of the whole map really. But, you know, that's looking good. I think maybe a fourth tower there would have added a little bit more, given it a bit more symmetry, but otherwise I'm really happy with the results of it. I think I might just do a little second video after this of me just walking from, well, basically through the, you know, through the whole map, because you can do a little mode where you just walk around and we'll have a look. So maybe I'll do that in the next video, just a walk through the Rivertown. So that is it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you'll stick around and watch more Tiny Glade content, and I think that's going to be one of my focuses going forward, because I do absolutely love it, and I almost can't stop playing it. Yeah, so thank you very much. Stay awesome. Love you, bye.